Retro Road Test, Mazda Xedos 6 vs Volvo 850, 1993 Specs, UK. By the time you've finished this, you'll know which of these early 90s executives sings smoother at motorway speeds, which one makes you feel like you've invested in Swedish armor or Japanese understatement, and which one will quietly cost you more in the long run. Grab a cuppa, this is a long one, in a good way. Introduction, two different philosophies. 1993 was a curious year. The curtain had come down on the big boxy cars of the 1970s and 1980s, but before the era of flashier executive saloons kicked in, there was room for two very different approaches to the modest executive, the Mazda Xedos 6 and the Volvo 850. The Xedos 6 wore a handsome, slightly Jaguar-ish face and offered a compact V6 for those who liked their engines to purr like a contented cat. The Volvo 850, meanwhile, was the brash, box-born Swede with safety in its bones and a reputation for honest, practical engineering. This road test uses UK specifications and compares both cars in their 2-litre forms, the Xedos 6 with Mazda's 2.0 V6 and the Volvo 850 with its 2-litre inline-5. The aim is simple, evaluate them as real, everyday cars in 1993 Britain: performance, refinement, handling, economy, practicality, ownership and that all-important would I keep it test. At a glance, key specs, 1993, UK. Mazda Xedos 6, 2.0 V6, Europe /UK, Volvo 850, 2.0 20V, UK /Europe. Engine 2.0 litre V6, 24 valve 2.0 litre inline 5, 20 valve. Power, approximate, 144 bhp /108 kilowatts, European tune. 143 bhp /143 ps, 20V, depending on exact variant. Torque 175-180 Nm, mid-range. 184 Nm, mid-range. Drive front-wheel drive, some variants offered AWD later, not common on 2.0. 0-62 miles per hour 9-10 seconds, manual, 10-11 seconds. Top speed 130-133 miles per hour 125-130 miles per hour. Boot, approximate, 390 liters 415 liters, saloon, more with seats down. Fuel economy, claimed, 30-32 miles per gallon, Imperial, 27-30 miles per gallon, Imperial. Notable smooth V6 feel in a compact executive package. Stylish, but cabin a little plain. Roomy, safe, practical, engine character is linear and strong for mid-range overtakes. Asterisk performance figures approximate and dependent on gearbox and tuning, used here to illustrate relative capability rather than produce definitive factory numbers. For example, Mazda's European 2.0 V6 is generally quoted at around 144 bhp, while the Volvo 2.0 20V is in the same ballpark at roughly 143-145 PS for early 90s models. Content reference, OA site 0, index equals 0. First impressions, style and presence. Park the Xedos 6 beside the Volvo 850 and you instantly see the different brief each car was working to. The Xedos is elegant in a restrained, slightly continental way, its flowing flanks and curving bonnet suggest an attempt to create something that looks grown up without screaming at you. From a distance it might be mistaken for a smaller Jaguar, not a bad trick from Mazda. Up close, though, the detailing is modest, the plastic is very 1990s, The cabin windows are neat rather than lavish, and the paint often looks slimmer than on more expensive rivals. The Volvo 850, by contrast, is honest about its shape. It's boxy compared with the Xedos, but there's a function to that box. It's designed around interior space, visibility and a tidy use of form to keep costs down and passenger room up. The 850 doesn't try to flirt, it simply says, I will be sensible and dependable. For buyers who prefer substance over coy prettiness, that settles it. For buyers who like being complimented in the supermarket car park, the Xedos nudges ahead. Inside, ergonomics, quality and comfort. Mazda wanted the Xedos 6 to be a premium small executive and, to an extent, they achieved that feeling. The driving position is cozy and the dashboard is clean. Soft touch surfaces are present where they count and the center console has a neat, low-key design. The seats are comfortable for a morning commute or a long run, though taller adults in the back might find knee room a touch limited compared with the Volvo. The Volvo 850's cabin is purposefully more utilitarian. The switchgear is chunky and easy to operate, a hallmark of Volvos of the era, and there is plenty of space in the rear. The driver's seat is supportive for long trips, and the raised roofline and upright greenhouse create a bright, airy ambience that makes longer journeys less claustrophobic. Material quality is solid, it's not leathery luxury, but there's a reassuring firmness to everything that hints at longevity. Practicality wins in the Volvo, rear passengers get more space, the boot is generous and the estate variants, if you want proper load lugging ability, are among the best in class. The Xedos is more intimate and arguably more refined, but if you need to ferry people and kit regularly, the Volvo is the pragmatic choice. Engines and performance, 2-liter characters. Both cars arrive with roughly the same headline power in 2-liter form, but the delivery is where the personalities diverge. Mazda Xedos 6, the 2.0 V6. Mazda's 2.0 V6 in the Xedos is a compact, sweet-running engine that revs willingly and rewards a flexible right foot. The V6 note is the selling point, a burbling, rounded sound that's more cultured than urgent. The engine's refinement is impressive for the time, and there's a satisfyingly linear build-up of revs rather than any harsh surge. In everyday driving it gives a feeling of smooth, effortless progress, great for cruising and for the sort of overtakes where you don't want to upshift multiple times. Performance is sprightly rather than ballistic. The Xedos can hit motorway speeds easily and will make short work of A-road overtakes, but it's not a track animal. The gearbox is generally well matched. Manuals are precise enough and automatics are smooth if a little lazy with kickdowns. Volvo 850, the 2.020 V5 cylinder. The Volvo's 2-liter 5 is a different beast. The 5-cylinder configuration gives a distinct thrum and a muscular mid-range shove that feels trustworthy when you ask for a brisk acceleration. Where the Xedos V6 excels at refinement, the Volvo's i5 excels at shove. It'll pull well from lower revs and deliver predictable responses under load. On the move, the Volvo feels more utilitarian but utterly competent. The gearbox and engine pairing favor relaxed motorway cruising and confident overtakes without the need to be constantly on the gas. If you want a car that behaves like a sensible everyday performance car, one that will happily carry a roof box and 3 oversized teenagers with the same composure, the 850's engine character is perfectly pitched. Key specification references: Mazda's European 2.0 V6 tends to be quoted around 144 bhp in UK/EU tune, while the Volvo 2.020V is specified around 143 PS in early 90s European trim. These figures underline the similar headline outputs but different engine architectures. Content reference, OA Site 1, index equals 1. Handling and ride, loosen up or tighten up. Neither car is trying to be a sports saloon, but each offers a coherent approach to ride and handling. Xedos 6, balanced and a little playful. The Xedos 6 is a nimble companion. Mazda's suspension tuning favors a compromise that leans slightly sporty without betraying comfort. It remains composed through corners, with a touch of understeer if you ask too much, but otherwise the car tracks nicely and the steering, while not hyper-precise, gives decent feedback. On undulating B-roads the Xedos feels willing to be hustled. If you're the sort of driver who enjoys a bit of engagement without losing dignity, this is the one for you. Volvo 850, composed and assured. The 850 rides with calm authority. Its suspension soaks up motorway imperfections and leaves passengers unruffled. The trade-off is that body control is less taut than the Xedos. The Volvo won't be mistaken for a sports car. However, its predictability is a strength. It's unfazed by sudden maneuvers and the front-wheel drive grip is reassuring. The steering is light and easy, aimed at comfort rather than driver involvement. Put simply, if you prefer a car that enjoys a brisk, slightly entertaining stroll through country lanes, the Xedos gives that little tickle of fun. If you want confidence, space and a settled ride for motorway miles, the Volvo's demeanor is closer to a spa day for your backside. Noise, vibration and refinement. The Mazda's V6 is the refinement king here. At motorway speeds the Xedos is comparatively hushed. Aside from a modest tire roar, the cabin remains serene and the V6's smoothness helps create a premium vibe. The Volvo is noisier at higher RPMs. The 5-cylinder has more mechanical presence, but it's a comforting noise rather than one that irritates. The Volvo's insulation is good, if less plush than the Xedos. You notice the difference on long trips, particularly if you spend a lot of time revving for overtakes on twisty roads. Practicality and family life. Volvo built the 850 with family life in mind. Rear seats are roomier, ingress and egress are easier, and the boot swallows shopping and luggage with cheerful indifference. The estate version of the 850 is a particularly compelling choice for someone who needs genuine load space without moving up to a large car budget. The Xedos is adequate for everyday life, but it is not designed to be as cargo-centric. Rear kneeroom and boot space are smaller than the Volvos. If your idea of family duties is the occasional school run plus one medium suitcase, the Xedos copes. If you regularly ferry surfboards, flat-packed furniture or in-laws, the Volvo will be less likely to cause passive-aggressive comments about boot space. Safety. Volvo's reputation for safety is not mere marketing waffle. The 850 continued that lineage. With a robust structure, front airbags on many trims and a design focused on occupant protection, the Volvo is the safer choice in literal, real-world terms. Side impact protection and overall crashworthiness were taken seriously by Volvo in the 850 era. The Xedos 6 offered decent safety for the class but was not pitched as a safety flagship. If you have children to ferry, the Volvo's reassuring solidity and better rear seat space for child seats tilt the argument in its favor. Running costs and reliability. In 1993 the Mazda's V6 will cost a little more to run in terms of servicing, 6 cylinders, more complexity, but Mazda's engines of the era earned a solid reputation for reliability if maintained. The V6's smoother operation may reduce stress on ancillaries and make long motorway runs less wearing in the long term. Volvos of the era were also robust, but parts can be pricier. yet the simplicity and mass of parts used across Volvo models often made DIY maintenance more straightforward. Insurance costs will vary depending on the driver, but the Volvo's larger body and strong safety pedigree could help keep premiums sensible for family buyers. Economy in real use. The Mazda could return good figures if treated politely on the motorway, claiming 30-31 miles per gallon imperial, while the Volvo's heavier body and 5-cylinder engine generally deliver slightly lower miles per gallon in mixed driving. The real-world consumption depends greatly on driving style. Content reference, OA Site 2, index equals 2. Equipment and specification, typical trims. The Xedos 6 often came with a sensible level of equipment for the class: alloy wheels, air conditioning on higher trims, power windows and central locking. The interior trim aimed for an elevated feel with leather or faux leather options on higher grades. The Volvo 850 puts usability first: comfortable seats, heating forward/ventilation systems that work properly even after years of use, and straightforward switchgear. Optional extras often included better radios, electric roofs, and on later models, more advanced engine management for improved economy and emissions. Which one to buy? Practical buying advice, 1993 thinking. If you were standing on a forecourt in 1993 with your pocket filled with earnest intentions and a desire to pick the right car for the next 5 years, the choice falls to what you value most. Choose the Mazda Xedos 6 if you want a compact executive that feels a little special, enjoys a smoother, more refined engine note, and will reward you with a slightly more engaging driving experience. Ideal for the commuter who values style and refinement more than raw practicality. It's the car that looks like you've bought a grown-up saloon but haven't had to remortgage. Choose the Volvo 850 if you need space, safety and everyday usability. It's sensible, roomy and built to cope with family life and long motorway journeys without fuss. If you prefer a car that quietly gets on with the job and will hopefully survive a few knocks and scrapes with minimal drama, this is the one. Ownership experience, long-term thoughts. Buy the Xedos and you'll likely enjoy the driving experience for many years. Maintain the V6 and it will reward you with that silky Mazda character. However, the Xedos isn't as common, which affects parts availability and resale values. It might be seen as a niche purchase. Keep receipts and service history and it should hold value with enthusiasts who remember its subtle charm. Buy the Volvo and you get a car that will be easier to live with in everyday life. Resale will be steadier among buyers who value safety and practicality. Parts are broadly available and independent Volvo specialists were common in the UK even in the 1990s. The 850 has the edge if you need durability and long-distance comfort. Road test summary, on the road verdict. Both cars are commendable in their own right. The Mazda Xedos 6 is the prettier, more refined and more engaging drive. It's the car that whispers sophistication rather than announcing it. The Volvo 850 is more functional, roomier and better suited to practical family duties and long mileage. It's the car that shuts its eyes, puts on an anorak and gets the job done reliably. For keen drivers who still need reasonable practicality, the Xedos is the pick. For those needing to carry more people and cargo with peace of mind, the Volvo wins. If forced to produce a one-line verdict, the Xedos is the nicer drive, the Volvo is the more useful car. Practical tips for buyers, 1993 and beyond. Check service history. Both cars benefit hugely from a full service record. V6 engines particularly reward regular cam belt, spark plug and oil changes. The Volvo's 5-cylinder engines hate being neglected on belts and tensioners. Look for corrosion, check sills, wheel arches and the underside. The 1990s was a transitional era for corrosion protection, so inspect carefully. Test the electricals, window motors, central locking and dash electronics on 1990s cars can become fussy. Ensure all switches work and that warning lights behave correctly. Feel the suspension and steering. Ask for a test drive on both quiet A roads and a stretch of B road. Listen for knocks, creaks and bushes losing their will to work. Tire condition. Tires are often overlooked on older cars. Worn or mismatched tires will ruin the handling balance and generate false negatives on a test drive. The humor section, because a little levity helps you choose. Imagine the Xedos at a dinner party, politely charming, a little too fond of talking about obscure Japanese fashion magazines and the merits of slightly underfloor insulated engine bays. The Volvo turns up wearing sensible shoes, offers you a spare umbrella and asks if you've checked your mother's boiler. Neither is wrong. One is more likely to flirt with your neighbor while the other will make sure your children arrive at school on time and slightly damp-free. Final thoughts. Whose brief did each car fulfill? Mazda set out to build a compact executive that could rub shoulders with more expensive competition by being refined and handsome. For many buyers, that worked. The Xedos 6 is a lovely piece of understated engineering that rewards tasteful ownership. Volvo built a car for people who think practicality and safety are part of good manners. The 851 plenty of friends because it did the basics extremely well and did not attempt to be frivolous about it. In the battle between Mazda charisma and Volvo sobriety, there is no universal winner. Both are solid choices. The correct pick is the one that suits your day-to-day life. If you fantasize about the occasional spirited run and appreciate a cultured engine note, buy the Xedos. If you spend more time ferrying people and luggage at 70 miles per hour on the M1, buy the Volvo and sleep better at night.